pretty good. I think I'm the only one enthusiast. Anybody else that won't get it done, I got that number. That's it. Like, that'd be expensive getting almost these paper. Look like a regular paper.
Please stand. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. For you, those that are at home, first thing on our agenda is a public hearing on the real estate personal property tax rate.
Yes, this is just our annual public hearing to set the tax rates. And the state did not raise our ceiling this year, so it is exactly the same rate as last year. So general fund remains at 0.3625, the park fund at 0.0093, and the band at 0.0102, which brings the combined total rate to 0.3820 per $100 of assessed valuation. So the total assessed valuation did increase by the $578,768. That sounds like a lot, but that only converts into a revenue of $2,210.89 over last year. So you can see here where I've got it broken down by dollar for the general fund is $151,949.79. So I know people, it doesn't, the tax rates don't generate, it's not a big revenue source for us really. $151,949.79 for general fund, park $3,898.30, and the band at $4,275.55 for a total of $160,123.64 for the year. So the ordinance to approve that is later on our agenda, and I would ask that we read it 2 times in order to get it to the county clerk by September 1st.
All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Mayor's report. First of all, as you can see, we're celebrating back to school, support the Hermann Bearcats. So first of all, it was a reminder today was the first day of school. So please be alert, watch for students, school buses. And I really want to wish the students and the faculty the best for a challenging school year ahead. Hope all goes well. I was honored to speak at the dedication of the bandstand. The Russian Palette Club has been working and raising money for a long time for this project. And it was a very, very nice affair, good music, great ice cream, nice crowd, beautiful day. If you have not been there, take the time to check it out. It's a job well done. They did a really good job, and it's another great addition to the city park. And it doesn't cost nothing to go look at it. And if you see Lois or anybody from Russian Palette, give them a big thank you. Okay, you know I'm pretty short on my mayor report. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I've been getting a lot of messages about the COVID and the mask and so forth, and I put on my Facebook page that I would make a statement tonight. And so this is what I'm about to do. So what I'm about to say is going to upset some of you, but I must make a statement on my feelings toward the COVID-19 virus in Hermann. Yes, the number of cases have been going up in Gasconade County. Could that be because of more testing? Probably. But folks, watch all the numbers. The recovery rates numbers are also going up. Last Friday there were 6 new cases, but there was also 6 people that went into what we call the recovery mode. Just got a report this afternoon, same thing. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we had 6 new cases, but we also had 6 people go into the recovery mode. So it pretty well has been equaling itself up. Granted, there's more numbers than we had 3 weeks ago, but you know, if you watch the news, that's all they tell you about is the numbers. They don't tell you about, I'm talking about the St. Louis and these other news stations. They don't tell you about the recovery mode. It's called the fear factor, and that's what they want. They want everybody to be fearful. And this is my opinion now, okay? Just remember that a virus number does not mean that someone is deathly sick. Many people have the virus and do not get sick. If you are healthy, if I understand what I have read, that your immune system should fight off the virus. If you have serious health conditions, you need to take precautions. People are concerned about all the tourists coming to town and bringing the virus. Well, I will tell you from experience at my shop that out-of-towners are tourists that come in. Some wear masks, others ask whether they have to wear or not. Some do not. In my shop, masks are not required. These people are thankful of the right to not have to wear a mask in our town. All of my experiences are positive with these people. They're courteous, they're respectful to each other and those around them. And as far as I know, up to last Friday, I don't know about this last week, there have been no known cases in Gaston County that has been related to a tourism incident. I've had several people say and send me messages that I need to mandate wearing a mask in Hermann. But I also have many, many people that have told me that I do not need to mandate a mask in Hermann. Please don't. Do masks work? Do we know? Some say they do, others say they don't. Who do you believe? Even the doctors cannot agree. Someone posted on one of my message streams on Facebook that she did everything right. Social distance, tried to stay home most of the time, wore a mask, but she still got the virus. So she's one of those that she did it right, but she still got the virus. I will tell you, I will not mandate wearing a mask in the city of Hermann. I do care about the citizens of my town and the many visitors that come to Hermann. And my advice is to you, if you feel you need to wear a mask to be safe, by all means do so. If you do not, just try to social distance and be courteous to others. Respect people if they are wearing a mask or not. And just use some common sense. If it's a big crowd and you feel like you shouldn't be there, don't go there. If you want to go into a shop and the clerk's not wearing a mask and you feel uncomfortable, don't go in there. The whole thing is, you are an individual and you have rights. And you have a right to do as you feel to keep yourself safe. Please do not let the fear factor guide you. And stop watching the news. Thank you. God bless everyone. City Administrator report.
Yes, sir. I attended the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission meeting on the 13th and the Gasconade Valley Enterprise Zone meeting on the 20th. Sad news, I had to ask for another extension on the clinic demolition. The testing of the shingles took longer than anticipated and the contractor has other work scheduled. I have not heard back from SEMA on the extension at this time. It is frustrating, but at this point we don't have any options. I'll report on the start date as soon as I get one. Met with the engineer today. We discussed the start date for West 18th. He stated that Lamke will be submitting a material list and getting their bonds in order. He expects work to start in 2 to 3 weeks. We will have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and the engineer before they actually begin work. I also gave him the water usage that Carol gathered for me for the Seattle Ridge and Epley Freaking Drive for the booster pump for that area. And the airport office has been remodeled after the flood. Still no word on MoDOT aviation grant for the That's it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mark, anything on the AT&T tower?
The newspaper reported
Sorry.
2 weeks, about a week ago.
The gentleman I spoke with before the last meeting said that he thought it would be on in a couple of weeks, so here we are.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to ordinances.
Public comment.
Oh, excuse me, public comments. I'm sorry, thank you. I was just going to go right over that. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Okay. Rihanna, would you like to speak first, please?
Yeah, I'm Rhiannon, Iron Horse Inn. I just wanted, first of all, to get a little clarification on the ordinance that you're talking about. Did we not have already on the books an ordinance regarding having a manager close by? Wasn't that already in the works, or in the writings?
For guest houses you're talking?
Ordinances, yeah.
It was in there, but there was not a clarification of the 10-mile rule, I believe, is why they had to.
So the purpose of the new ordinance is to specify a distance at which the manager needs to reside to the property.
Correct.
Okay, well, my comment is that I think it's a good idea, and I'll tell you the reason why. I think that the police department, which answers to calls about problems, sometimes can have a busy evening. They may be dealing with an accident, or somebody's had a heart attack or a suicide attempt. They may have their hands full. For them to have to pause or find a way to squeeze in a call about something else going on a property that should be handled by a manager, I don't think it's the taxpayer's responsibility to have to pay or fund or expect the police department to handle something the manager can handle. So I agree with that idea that they should be within 10 miles, means about 10 minutes of response time, as opposed to an hour away in a town like Union or such. So I just want to say I support that idea. Myself, I live on my property, but I also make it a point not to go out of town when I have people in the house. For that same reason, if a smoke detector would start beeping and annoying my guests, I don't want to say I'll be there in an hour to take care of the problem. And we've always had the attitude that whatever experience a guest has at any guest house or B&B in town reflects on the town itself. So we don't want to have a guest house guest inconvenienced while they wait an hour for a manager to show up to address a problem.
Right.
Okay, and if I can make just one comment, I didn't realize you were going to give your address on the COVID. I would just like to say, while it's true that people do recover and go on with their lives, you have to, again, as the doctor previously said at one of the meetings, you have to look at what the term recovery actually means. Recovery doesn't always mean returning to the same health that you enjoyed before, and I just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Scott?
I appreciate taking a moment. I appreciate your comments. I wanted to make sure that you as a board realize that not just tourists come to our town, but in my particular case, I've got 4 different vendors that come in and deliver. The grocery stores have over a dozen people that come in and deliver. So when we're looking at masks and all of those issues, it's not just tourists coming in. And I would encourage, and I think this is what the board is probably going to lean towards, allow Gaston County Health to make the decision whether or not for the whole county, as opposed to one particular city trying to be able to implement a mask policy. And the reason why they should have the expertise and they should be able to make that decision a lot better, and it wouldn't be a political decision, it would be based upon the health and whatnot, the well-being of their citizens, and take the politics out of it. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Mike, would you like to step up, please, sir?
Mike Sloan, Hermann, First House, and first of all, I'd like to say, Mr. Mayor, thank you for being mayor. A couple things. I'm just here to answer any questions, comments, and concerns on the proposal to change the skyline in downtown Hermann, Missouri. And I've made presentations to numerous boards. I think this is my 3rd time before this board, landmarks, and I'm here to open up any conversation. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, I'd be more than happy. Just a background of my efforts. Rick, what day were you sworn in as an alderman? back in May?
No, we didn't elect you until June.
June.
Okay, so that was the first presentation I made on the
Right,
night you were here.
that was the first meeting.
Yeah, and so I've been back a couple of times in landmarks and
Right.
trying to get this thing resolved, and many of you have been very receptive and helpful. So if there's anything that I need to open up here, I'm open for questions. I don't have a big presentation here. I mean, I think I've done most of my presentations, but if anybody's any questions.
Well, I've got a couple, but they aren't for you. I admit to being a little bit confused at what the heck is actually going on here. Since I've been an alderman, for the biggest part of that, I've been on the Landmarks Commission. And we spent a lot of time, I mean a lot of time, just simply trying to get people to follow the rules, to follow the guidelines, to do what they're supposed to do. Mike followed all those. He did exactly everything we required. He not only did them, he did them correctly. He went above and beyond. He had 2 sets of drawings for what he wanted to do. He actually changed it himself to make it more aesthetically pleasing and to blend in what was downtown. That was very impressive to me, because normally the people on landmarks have to suggest stuff like that. He did everything he was supposed to do. He came before landmarks. He got a certificate of appropriateness for a non-conforming building, of all things. Mike's building is not historic. It's not old enough yet. Yet he's changing it to fit the motif of that town, to match the roof on the building next to it, to set the posts so they pretty much should sit in line with all of that. He's done everything that he's asked to. In the 4+ years I've been on the Landmarks Commission, anytime someone was willing to do all this, and a lot of them weren't, and they get that certificate of appropriateness and told they're getting a building permit, they get the building permit, and all of a sudden this man doesn't have a building permit, and I'd like somebody to explain to me why. What is holding this up? Now, in that time period, there have been at least 3 awnings put on front of buildings in the historic district, in our business areas. None of those people had to come before us and ask what's going on. Once they went to landmarks and were given the certificate of appropriateness and told they were getting their building permit, they got the building permit. There are several other awnings who have been modified. People have done it right. It looks beautiful. There's never been this. So would someone please explain to me what's going on here?
Well, the first I heard of it was today, so
My question is, the only question I had, and you answered that earlier, is the fencing is not permanent. It's temporary
Yeah,
fencing.
the fencing in between the poles can be removed if we need it to work also.
If I decide to leave Hermann, I'm taking the fence with me.
There you go. But I mean, the
But it's not
pole,
anchored to the building or the grounds, it's just.
It's anchored to the ground. It's removable.
you have to bolt it tight.
You have to bolt it to something.
Or it's not fencing.
well, there would have to be a safety issue.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, I don't understand why this situation is suddenly different than everybody else that's put it on. Because none of them have had to go through this. Once they got their certificate of appropriateness and approval from landmarks, they were allowed to start. He's got a time frame he needs to meet. If somebody's got a good reason for this, please tell me what it is.
Have you applied for your building permit?
What?
Have you come in and applied for your building permit?
Yeah.
Yes, he should have had it already, and he doesn't have it.
Well, I don't know that anybody's necessarily holding that up. I'm not doing the building department anymore, so we're in between employees, but I'm not aware of anybody specifically holding it up on.
Well, I sit right there in the Landmarks Commission, and it was approved, and it's usually within a week. I mean, that gets mailed out, and he doesn't have
Well,
it.
Lee, as soon as Lee signs off on it, has Lee coordinated with you or anything, Lee, the building inspector?
I've not seen Lee, he's
Okay,
not
have you
come
paid for
in.
your building permit?
What's that?
It hasn't been paid for?
No, I've got nothing. I've got no,
But you filled
no
it out.
billing, I've got no paperwork, nothing. That was 2
But you
weeks ago.
submitted it.
I've submitted it 2 weeks ago.
That's what
Plus.
she's asking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check on that for you.
I mean, how long does it take?
No, I'm not involved in this except to say, for to answer your question, the difference might be for some of the aldermen that this has to do with an outdoor seating permit. It's not just putting up an awning.
Well, the outdoor seating permit he's had for a decade. This doesn't change the seating area. It's basically an awning over the top of it.
Correct.
I mean, it does not affect the 5-foot rule. We looked, I went down there with Mike with a tape measure and said, you got to have this much room or this ain't gonna work.
That was
He
all
found
over
where
a
they
decade
could
ago.
work.
Or almost a decade ago.
But add in here, I've seen the pictures. This is only the second time since I've been an alderman you've been here on this issue. I looked at it. Yes, I do have some hesitations, landmarks allowing construction, it was verbalized to us as a porch on city right-of-way. That's a separate entity. Now, if you want to talk about the outdoor seating, the railing has to be freestanding, cannot be connected to post. So that's a separate issue. This is something new for the city. We have no other outdoor seatings with an awning over. It looks nice, the pictures that I've seen. Other than that, I'm out in the dark. I know nothing about it. Nobody's convinced to me. Last time I did, Alderman Ferber told me we was going to put it into recessed window. I went down there and it fit. I said, son of a gun, he's got enough room, it'll fit in there.
But with all due respect, I mean, there's other businesses, they have the fences that can be removable. And this is the same thing.
But I think there's two more,
Well, you've got,
three more.
harvest baskets,
Anything I screw into the ground has to be supported.
Yes.
But whenever I decide to leave, I'm gonna take the fence with me. You don't get the fence. It's mine.
Well,
I
the
think
fence
part of
can't
the-
be, fence can't be connected to the post.
It would have to be
has
because of the
posts
safety
stand
issue.
up.
How are you gonna keep it from falling over?
It has to have
Well,
support
if
posts
it's
stand
connected
up.
on that, then you can't do the outdoor seating.
Well,
You
others
mean
do.
you're
Can't be
connecting it to the
permanently
ground, you're
mounted.
not connecting it to the post, you're connecting it to the ground so they don't flip over.
Correct. To
But
the
they're not
ground
going to the
with
post.
post.
Yeah.
The post
Yeah.
is down to the ground. I
Yes, sir.
understand that. And then the other historical, and I've sent an email out earlier and some replies that I guess part of the problem I have here is Landmarks is giving permission for things that they haven't took into consideration the other ordinances involved with it, i.e. the outdoor
Am
seating.
I breaking other ordinances?
Well, like I said, I haven't seen nothing what you're doing down there, basically. I've word of mouth. But I know also that I think it came from Chuck, that Landmarks has approved about 4 other things. Once they were approved, they got it, construction happened, and those 4 were built not to specifics of the orders that were given by Landmarks. They're supposed to be built in wood, they use vinyl. They put vinyl siding over the wood siding. You know, what I'm saying is, that permit, if it has to do with, I put that in email, if anybody read that, I think really if it has to deal with city property, city right-of-way, Landmark should ask or give us a suggestion, but they should not have the power to issue a permit. Now, if we question that, and we went through the city attorney, we have to jump through hoops and hollers to try to get an answer to how do we not allow it to happen if it's wrong.
So what am I supposed to do, Mayor Bruce?
Well, the way I look at this, that's why we have the landmarks.
That's exactly why we
I
have
mean,
that.
the landmarks make those decisions. As long as I've been an alderman, since 2013, I think, that
Well,
I've never had it, the landmarks come to us or somebody come to us, the landmarks approves it, it gets approved, because they normally do the homework, and with Chuck on there, if they make a mistake occasionally, it's very seldom. I mean, he's very thorough with what he does. So, I mean, I just think we're making a mountain out of a molehill here myself, personally.
Well,
You know,
we had a problem with the enforcement department, making sure people did it. We just fixed that.
yes, we understand that now with the,
But this gentleman over here to my left, I've heard say many, many times that what we do for one, we have to do for everybody. Now, this is kind of the reverse of that. We've been doing this for everybody, letting people put awnings up. There's not an awning in the business district that does not have posts on city property. The public seating was approved over a decade ago, before any of us were sitting here. I don't see the issue here at
I
all.
personally don't either, but you know.
I think, for me, it's not a hesitancy, it's a point of confusion, because I'm not clear on, there's like 3 or 4 different things that are coming to us at one time. You know, there's the awning, there's going to be the covering, there's the seating, which you got approved, but then there's the fencing around that, there's the smoker, putting the smoker in.
So my problem.
That's in his problem.
That's even not part of the discussion.
No, but see, that's part of the problem. That's where all these things are
That's not
coming
part of the
at you,
discussion.
are coming at us,
And so the confusion is,
The only-
what are we actually talking
The
about?
only thing you're approving is what I have done a decade ago by enhancing it with a roof. Instead of a chain link fence,
So does the health department get involved in any
No.
of this at this
they've
point?
got no jurisdiction over what I'm doing.
Okay. And see, that's a question that we needed to have
As
answered.
far as the awning goes, that's our cup of tea.
Okay.
And the other thing you gotta remember, down the road, I've heard talk of a couple of buildings that may be restored, and they wanna go back to the original way. Well, the original way, those buildings had the same thing. They had the awning all the way out to the street with the posts.
With the
And
post.
if those people follow through with what they told me, and it's not gonna happen this year, I don't think, you're gonna have the same issue. But that's the way they were historically done. So if you go back to the historical structures, the older ones, which his is not, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to, anyway. I personally, I don't see an issue, but
Well, this is my
We have-
fourth meeting. I just
we have
need
to
know
make
what
a
to do.
decision, so.
This man needs to get on with his business and his life here, and I cannot see us holding it up. He's done everything he's supposed to do.
But now your fourth meeting here.
What's that?
This is your second meeting here.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been,
Well, he's been to
The
landmark.
landmark and, okay.
but a meeting is a meeting.
What, has Lee been down to your place for the permit to inspect it? Has he
No.
been down there?
Well, he don't have the building permit yet, so.
Right,
That's why there's a holdup. It should have been already.
Well, I think it was Friday. You hadn't even come out here to apply for a permit yet.
It's
That's
been
what we
2
were told.
weeks.
Came from the city office. And we had a similar discussion here about this, and we did consult with the city attorney. He looked at it, he told us a direction that we should do, we should look at, and that was filing, asking for the Court of Appeals or whatever it's called, or we could go down and talk to you about for your outdoor, like I said, we got two things going here at the same time, the awning and the outdoor seating. Outdoor seating says the fence cannot be mounted permanently. Then
No,
everything else on the
I'm
inside
gonna
there.
take the gate, I'm gonna take the fencing with me. When I leave town, I'll take it with me, so it won't be permanent.
So
No,
what are the
permanently
steps?
affixed.
What
To
steps
something.
is he not doing, or Andy's?
Permanently
That's my-
affixed to something.
That was kind of my question.
It just says permanently affixed correctly.
So if it's got
Screw.
a hook on it that can be unhooked.
No, it's bolts and screws.
Well, bolts is not permanent. I mean, it ain't welded tight.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else's with an outdoor seating permit has that, anything bolted into the city sidewalk, so that would be a difference, if you're getting picky. As far as steps, I'm not sure why, building permit would be hung up. Did you actually turn it in with your certificate of appropriateness? Probably not.
No,
After that?
no, I turned all this in.
That's the certificate of appropriate, though, I don't think you actually filled out the building permit itself, that long, legal form, so I don't think you've done that yet.
Well, there's 18 pages here I turned
Maybe
in.
that's not it. It's a long legal size, it was
There's
a
more pages than
$30
18.
fee. Okay, so, we'll check
So
on
can you give me
that.
that page? I'm not so upset about not having I'm not blaming
Uh-huh.
somebody. I just want to move on here.
Right, you've got your certificate of appropriateness, and, so the next step would be to actually get your building permit and the building inspector.
So will you help me do what I gotta do
I'll
to
help
get this
you do
done?
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then you all just need to decide if you want to see, has anything changed from your original site plan for your outdoor seating area from 10 years ago, from when you first got it, because it's never changed. Every year the same picture gets submitted,
Yeah.
and that's okay if it's the
The only thing that
same.
changes is the number of tables or chairs, because sometimes during the winter, I take tables inside.
But as far as this
I
goes,
don't
we're not
know-
adding,
I don't know if you're concerned about the number of tables.
well, actually, unfortunately, that is one of the criteria, is the number of tables. So
Because that changes.
Occupancy.
Because if it's
seasonally,
snowing,
yeah,
and if it's raining, I'll take a table or two inside, because people don't want to be outside.
but there's nothing beside, there's no crazy differences
No.
for your site plan now than
No.
what you do all the
Well,
time.
So
that's,
your original
that's
one,
not
that's the
true.
same amount of seats you have now?
No.
It's all
No,
the same.
because my original one 9 years ago, 10 years ago, the tables were 5 foot wide, or 5 foot circular,
3.
or 4 foot circular. Now they're 3 foot squares. And the chairs that went with those 5 foot tables were like big chairs. Now you have smaller chairs. So, yeah, that's a smaller floor space for the chairs and tables. But I don't think you want me to call you in January and say, hey, I'm taking 3 tables inside because
No.
it's cold.
No, but you've increased your capacity of how many people you can sit out there.
How many, if the
Where
capacity,
you begin, your original.
I think it was 25 to 30. And you had to check 9 years ago. I mean, if there's a record of it.
So in other words, what you're implicating is he needs to make a new drawing.
No,
of
I'm,
his-
I'm I'm just saying, if anything's changed, then you
Then
should
it's-
amend this site plan.
I didn't bring it with me, I do know the original drawing, because I got it. I went down, I know Bruce saw me, I measured it. And the original drawing submitted 10 years ago, you had an 8-foot sidewalk.
8-foot what?
8-foot wide sidewalk, now you're down to 5.
Because 5 is the
Is the
law.
ADA?
5 is the law.
Yeah. So we did shrink that. You did go from 3-foot diameter tables and 2-foot diameter tables. You had, I think, a total of 16 to 18 chairs. Now you're up to 32.
So you want me to change the numbers of
You had
chairs and
4
tables?
trash cans in
Because
there.
it'll
You
change
have
it
no
again.
trash cans.
I just think we're being too picky. I think this is my recommendation. Please draw up a new seating plan and submit it to the city, so that it will pacify everybody.
Done.
And then, as far as the rest of the construction, she'll help you with the building permit if it has not been submitted, and so you can move forward.
I'm gonna submit it to you. Correct? Okay. Done.
I think that's the way to move forward with this, and then maybe we can talk to the landmarks and see if we can educate them a little bit better, but I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I think,
You'll have that in the morning. My new drawing. But it'll change based on the weather, because people don't like to see it.
well, just with your fullest capacity.
In general.
Draw it at your full capacity. If you take some out, that's not a big deal.
Thank you.
With the 6-foot distance between tables, that's in place now. Because I think we should go to the landmark.
6 foot what?
6-foot distance between tables because of COVID,
It's outside.
that still counts.
I think that's up to the business owner to
So
decide if they
maybe
want to
you
do
should
that.
take it up with the State Department of Health and
He can
Services.
double check with the health department to make sure, do that, check and make
They
sure.
don't have-
Whether you have to be 6 foot or not, if you would.
But I think what we want on file is this is gonna, this is gonna expire, and I think what we want on file is what he's gonna do in general, not under these special conditions, or else we can do it again.
When does it expire?
Well, it's his renews in November every year, so I don't know how long the COVID before it expires, those guidelines, I don't know.
There's one thing I'll add. I'll throw Dave underneath the bus. Not you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The other guy. He was actually the person we had on the phone when he got the last picture. Because, and this was interpreted, I think, by Landmarks too, and I know Trish admitted to it, because I questioned, I said, you know that awning's coming all the way out to cover his outdoor seating. Dave's interpretation, Trish's, and maybe Landmarks, I don't know. But when we mentioned an awning was considered just a shade over a window. Once Dave did get the picture, that's a nice looking picture, it really looks sharp. His words was, that's not an awning, that's a porch, and that's against city ordinance.
Actually, what I said, the discussion, everybody talks about awnings, and it's a semantics issue, and I think that awning, I think of a cloth covering around a frame that protrudes out from a window to cover that window. I would describe your project more as a porch with a fixed roof and posts that come down to support the roof. And it's more or less a permanent structure as opposed to just a cloth covering over a window. We keep talking about awnings. And the discussion that we had on the phone was, where are those support poles for that roof resting? It appears that they're going to be resting on the city sidewalk, on city-owned property. Well, as you know better than probably anybody else in town, that raises a red flag when you rest your smoker or your vending machines, which we determined were, they could be on city property. But I don't know any Dave does, I guess he knows of lots of other people that have their posts sitting on any property, but I don't know any other person in any other town where they're allowed to build and encroach upon the city's property for their porch or their retaining wall or their this or their that. So that was the discussion that we had. And the discussion that we had was it appears that landmarks didn't even show up on their radar as to where these posts were going to be resting. Is it on the city's part of the sidewalk or on Mr. Sloan's part of the sidewalk? So, yes, and I have said many times that what you do for one, you do for all, and equal protection under the law, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we've got a dozen other places where the porch or awning, whatever you want to call it, posts rest on a city property,
All up and down that street.
Yeah, look at 4th Street. I mean,
Yeah, 4th Street, they're all
4th
there.
Street, it's the same thing. It's established
you
in this
mean like in the
community.
building we leased from Mr. Eicherman at 111 4th Street?
There you go. I'm just saying, so maybe what we need to do is alter that ruling that says you can't do that.
Well, there
And then
isn't
it's-
really any ruling, it's just a matter of, it's city property, and generally, you don't have to allow anybody to put fences or posts or buildings.
But I
or anything
mean,
else on city
Market
property.
Street, 4th Street, Schiller, they all have it.
Yeah.
The majority of those were there long before we had landmarks.
But there was 3 of them that had just been approved in the last couple of years.
And they
And there
were,
wasn't even a bat. I mean, I'm mad at it.
landmarks didn't come to us and advise
So,
us to build.
if the city's okay with that concept, I'm okay with it. It's just my job to point it out. and say,
Right.
hey,
You're doing your job, so maybe the idea would maybe look at the ordinance, change the ordinance, the year 2020. If you're not gonna help businesses during the pandemic, when are you? And so I think you need to look at some of these ordinances that this year is unlike any other year I hope we'd ever have again. And so all the ordinances that are on the books, you need to look at them. They may be outdated a little bit, or they can be changed or tweaked or something to get us through this year. And just proceed with caution, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Ordinance.
All right, the first, which is on for second reading, is bill number 2020-21, an ordinance to approve a municipal highways and transportation commission municipal agreement.
I move Bill 2020-21, second read.
We have a motion on the floor, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried.
Next is bill number 2020-22 for first reading, an ordinance setting the 2020 annual rates of levy for ad valorem taxes for general municipal purposes, establishment and maintenance of free public parks, and municipal band purposes.
Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made, 2020-22, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. You need that read the second time, please?
Bill number 2020-22, an ordinance setting the 2020 annual rates of levy for ad valorem taxes for general municipal purposes, establishment and maintenance of free public parks, and municipal band purposes.
I move Bill 2020-22, second read.
Motion made, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
So carried. We'll move to resolutions.
Resolution.
Come on.
Resolution number 1289, a resolution to approve an electric rate reclassification for the Gasconade County R1 football stadium and the Dick Oxner ballpark properties. And I believe the Utility Advisory Board and Jesse has recommended these adjustments. I believe the school district asked about the football field property, and Jesse and UAV thought the ballpark property kind of fit the same criteria, so they recommended this adjustment for both of those properties.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve that resolution?
I will make a motion to approve resolution 1289.
Motion Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay, move on to old business.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we at with the home incorporated building stuff?
I'll relay that to Mark. I think it's all within the lawyers as far as I understand, right?
Yeah, between Department of Natural Resources and the attorneys, it's still kind of sitting there. Nothing's really happened lately.
No recent
Unless Dave
updates?
has anything to add to that.
No, the Department of Natural Resources, I think, is stuck. And they have requested some financial information from the owner to see if he qualifies for certain programs to help with cleanup. And then I don't think that he's ever submitted the financial information. And so then it goes back to DNR. And do they have the ability or the desire to force a cleanup? Meanwhile, there's still all this equipment that's in there. The lender of the owner has liens on all the equipment in there, and they have been planning to have an auction of all that equipment for months and months. At one point, they were sort of shifting blame over to the city because they claimed that we had said that we weren't going to supply the necessary temporary electric for them to turn the power on, demonstrate the machines and the lights, and see, do what they needed to do to show and sell the equipment. But we cleared that up a month ago, longer ago than that.
It's been longer than that.
That we will do anything that we can do to help move this along.
There's some pretty impressive trees growing on the roof of that building.
Is there anything we can do? Weekly reminder letter?
Well, I think that it's, I don't think weekly reminder letters are gonna help. But let's bring that up next meeting and let me give a report on what our options are at this point. Because we've already declared it a dangerous building, which gives us the right to tear it down and put a lien on for our costs. But this isn't just a little frame house that you can knock down in 30 minutes. This is a nightmare.
And plus, we got to worry about the hazardous material, if there
Right.
is any.
Well, every tree root going through that roof is weakening into that roof more. One of these days, that whole thing's gonna cave in on, so.
I believe all the hazardous material has been removed.
I don't believe it has.
Documentations from people that worked there had filled it out, and that's just what I've been told.
Yeah, but there's a remedy that involves going to the circuit judge and having him order the gentleman to basically deal with it. I'll talk more about that next time and see if that's an option you want to pursue.
On that subject, I got a call from one of the neighbors wanting to know where we were, very upset, and wanting to know if there's anything that they could do to help speed up the process. At this point, I don't know what it would be. You may see a petition.
What address are you talking about?
It's the old Bevco building over there.
Jefferson, 9th and Jefferson, Home Incorporated.
Home and Car, there's two buildings there.
Just missed that.
Okay, is there any other old business? We'll move on to new business.
Yes. We passed, the citizens passed the new tourism tax. First of the year, we'll kick in and start helping funding our tourism. I've had questions from several B&Bs about having Airbnb collect that tax. Now, it requires, Tammy, help me out. Is she in here?
Yeah, she's there.
Oh, there she is, okay. Tammy was in her duties that dealt with the city, what city was it? Independence, that they fill out some paperwork and Airbnb collects that tax. It cuts out the middleman, for our people, when people pay for the room, they collect tax and they reimburse it to us. Is that something, it sounds, at least on the surface to me, like a very good idea.
I think
What do you want?
you're investigating that now, aren't you?
Right, I reached out to Independence City Administrator today, and he did not get back to me. However, we'll continue to investigate that and see what we can.
I got an email while we were sitting here, so.
Something go along with that. I think I sent it to Susan and I've lost that email. Somebody sent it to me, but Nashville, Tennessee, they have like 4,500 short-term rentals down there. And they use some type of a program, there again, I can't find that email, that actually they can pull up that shows the days those places are rented out and how much they charge and what the tourism tax would be. And said it's really turned Nashville around for collecting taxes through their short-term rentals. Nashville, Tennessee, but I can't find that email.
Well, is this something we want to pursue?
Well, I think after Tammy gets all the information, bring it back to us and, yeah.
Well, I think Dave will probably have to look at the stuff. So.
Right.
I think how it does, and Carol, she knows the inside and out, and so is Tricia. I think the state of Missouri actually collects that from the short-term rentals, and then quarterly, then they send it back out to municipalities.
Not the
Not
lodging
that.
tax, no.
No, this is
The
just,
individual is responsible for getting it to us.
Okay.
Airbnb, for better or worse, has taken over the rentals of this stuff, guest houses and B&Bs. And if the money's going through them, if we can just cut out one more step and get that money going where it's supposed to go, I think it would be a good idea to proceed looking into this to see if it'll work for them.
It sounds like an advantage because if they're getting the money, they're more apt to send it to
Yeah.
you than a lodge keeper that is in a little bit of trouble and all of a sudden don't have the money to pay it.
Most likely, it'll-
Pass through, don't have to pass through, yeah.
this company will probably have a percentage they do.
Don't know, we'll have to look into it. But,
Because nothing's free nowadays.
no. But are you all good with them proceeding with this?
And I'd check that, if I can find an email there in Nashville, there's some type of a program, which I thought was cool, that way you could see what days they were actually rented out.
Okay, Tammy, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business?
I have a question. My question is regarding Oktoberfest and the Sesquicentennial Park that's over there on Gutenberg. I am in the dark as to what improvements are being made and what's planned for this year's Oktoberfest.
I don't think anybody knows what's planned for Oktoberfest at this point because everything's up in the air a little bit. But the concrete pad is a JC project. That's going to be for their beer tent that they normally have there anyway.
Do they own that property?
The city owns that property.
Okay, so the J.C.'s put in the pad at their expense or city expense?
Their expense.
Their expense on city property?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Like they do with many of their projects, they raise money and they put it back into the community.
The J.C.'s really own nothing. Everything they do is donated.
Okay, my question is, the intention of the concrete pad, is that designed to better anchor a canopy that might be put up? Because we did have one disaster, I think it was at the amphitheater.
I would assume that they researched all that, but I can't not honestly answer that. Okay, we need to move on. We need, any other new business?
I don't know if we talk about it now or later, but isn't Labor Day the next Monday we would meet? So do we need to pick a new date or okay?
I thought, but I'm not sure.
No, that would be the first.
It's the
That'd be
14th, September 14th,
So we're
so
okay.
we're good.
And I sent that email, I found the email, he's come up, I sent it to Dave, you, Tammy, and all of you.
Okay. Any other new business? Okay, let's move on to motions.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes. I'm looking for my second page, it's on the back. I have a motion to approve the minutes, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Invoices for payment.
Will we pay the bill?
I have a motion to pay the bills, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay, we have a municipal corporation quitclaim deed for Mrs. Miller. This is just a typical that we do quite often. something's come up when they filed that shows, this is to say that we don't have any claim to that property.
I move we approve the.
Motion to approve, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Liquor license, the Cooperative Association number 130, weekday sales. What is the Cooperation 130? What is that?
Thank you.
MFA.
Oh, MFA.
That is MFA.
That didn't click.
I know, that's how they filled out their application and their checks, so.
Okay, no, that's fine. I couldn't figure out Cooperation 130.
We figured that's what it had to be, so.
I knew there wasn't an address of 130, so.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the liquor license?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any nays? So carried. Okay, next we have a festival event application for the Hermann Trolley. Mr. Sanderlin told me yesterday that he is not moving forward with the beer, food, and music on his lot, so we have no action to take on that. Okay. Next item would be an amended special event application for Big Dam. They want to move to the Riverfront Park, September 28th and 29th. They had already submitted earlier. Now they want to change where they're going to be. Have a motion to approve that?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Okay, that finishes up all the motions. We need to go into a closed session.
I move we adjourn open session and go into closed session for the purpose of dealing with matters related to leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate and state statutes.
I'm sorry, I don't think you read it all, Dave.
Say what?
And for discussion related.
Discussion related to negotiations for a contract pursuant to state statutes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, we need to do a
Roll call.
roll call vote on
I'm
this.
sorry, I didn't get the second.
Oh,
Rick?
that's right. We have a motion, is it? Now a roll call vote, sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Okay, we give everybody a few minutes to vacate, and we will thank you for attending. Bruce, copy your speech. I have to make you one, this is all I have. Oh.
I like how your hat has the top and underneath. Yeah, look down here. No?
Just stayed here 2 years.
Just how I feel.
Someone-
Just want to make it that point.
My feelings right here.